What I wanted to talk about is that you are never going to know, right? You're never going to know about MattDoesFitness. You're never going to know about John Cena. You're never going to know about The Rock unless they choose. Simon Miller, the bald a-hole here. It means I've got no hair and I just don't care. What an incredible week it's been, right? If you're into the fitness YouTube scene like I am, obviously, it's a fun thing to do. I suppose the subject of the last few days has been MattDoesFitness. Now, to catch you up to speed, if you don't know, MattDoesFitness said he was going to do a bodybuilding competition. It was going to be a natural bodybuilding competition, and everyone was like, oh, but he's not natural. What's going to go on? MattDoesFitness says he is natural, so he did a podcast with MorePlatesMoreDates, who obviously is just the smartest man of all time when it comes to supplements and steroids and everything else. The man should be a scientist. And then Greg Doucette put his 2 cents worth in as well, because of course he has talked about MattDoesFitness's physique before. Now, before we do get into this, I want to make it very clear, because sometimes people can misconstrue the point you're trying to get at. I strongly advise you to watch the MorePlatesMoreDates stuff. It's brilliant. I strongly advise you, if you care about the subject, to watch the Greg Doucette stuff, because he comes in with some really interesting points and takes. And I do think there is a conversation to be had about people who are taking PEDs and who aren't taking PEDs and who are being honest about PEDs and fake natties or whatever the hell the words is, right? Because the issue you can run into is that people strive for something they're never going to be able to achieve because they don't realize said person is on, well, drugs. It was the same for me when I was growing up. I saw Arnold Schwarzenegger. I was like, I want to look like that guy. I even saw the likes of Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler. I thought, well, I'd love to look like that. And then you get to an age where you have a formed brain and you're like, well, that's not going to happen. Even if I did inject my ass with a bunch of steroids, very sadly, I can never look like that. So as always, I wanted to have a little bit of a different take on it. You'll be surprised to hear. And that one guy that always says, Simon, you just sit on the fence. Well, baby, you get that bum ready, because that's where I'm going to plonk it. Because I think something that kind of gets misconstrued about all of this is that we're never going to know. And that's not just for MattDoesFitness. It's for anybody else that says they've never done drugs. You can go into the celebrity world and do this. You can go into the YouTube world and do this. I mean, we've mentioned MorePlatesMoreDates, Derek, I should call him really, and Greg Doucette, and they have been very open about their PED use, which is obviously massively helpful to their followers because then they know what is realistic and what isn't realistic. But not everybody is going to be as confident in themselves, I suppose. They must be, they must have great self-esteem to be able to do that, or whatever the right word would be. Not everyone is going to film the same way. They may be worried about their family. They may be worried about their job situation. They may be worried about, well, whatever it could be. It could be 100 things. And this is why it's also good when people make sure they have the chat about it, because this stuff should be normalized. If you're taking an unhealthy amount of stuff, okay, that opens the door to something else, but it's still your body. You should be allowed to do it. Although I guess, who's sitting down going, man, I took a bunch of cocaine. I mean, it's hugely different, but it's, the same kind of mindset. But what I wanted to talk about is that you are never going to know, right? You're never going to know about MattDoesFitness. You're never going to know about John Cena. You're never going to know about The Rock unless they choose to open up about whatever they may or may not have done. Right? Even somebody like The Rock, nobody can say with 100% certainty he has taken a bunch of stuff. I mean, it's super duper likely, but we don't know. The only person that knows is Dwayne The Rock Johnson and his doctor and people that he deems close to be him. We can be smart about it and we can be intelligent about it, but my point is this, again, just to double down, love videos like that, hope Greg and Derek keep doing stuff like it. It's interesting, it's an absolutely conversation we need to have, but just don't waste your time on it too much is what I'm trying to tell you, because what I find some people do is they get so caught up in all of this, they're just going through all these people who they deem, I suppose, to have better physiques and better bodies with them, and they're like, well, how did he look like that? Why can't I look like that? I need to know about this, I need to know about that, and so on and so forth. And it totally gets you off track of where you need to be. Because when it comes to bodybuilding, when it comes to fitness, when it comes to not athletic competition, but athletic competition you're doing in the gym, never forget, all you need to do is try and look better or perform better or outperform that you did yesterday or that you did last week or that you did last year. This is why it's really important to keep notes. Like it truly is. If you can go back to July 2020 and say, oh wow, I'm now lifting an extra 10 kilograms here or an extra 5 kilograms here, that should be enough to give yourself a pat on the back. Or maybe you find a picture, a mirror selfie from that time period, and you look at yourself 12 months on and go, oh man, I've lost this much body fat or I put this much muscle on. That's all that matters. Because you're not going to look like MattDoesFitness regardless what you do, because I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. You ain't MattDoesFitness, unless MattDoesFitness is watching this video, but he is MattDoesFitness, but he's not, because that's a name he made up for YouTube. But you see it all the time. I think the reason I wanted to throw my hat in the ring is that I did it as well. When in my early 20s, when you have to eat every 2 to 3 hours, and you have to obey the anabolic window, and you have to do all these things, otherwise the gains fairies are going to steal away your muscles. I I mean, not obsessively or anything like that, but I would always kind of get a little bit caught up in what other people were doing and what I wasn't doing. And is that the reason for, me not being able to get to where I want to go? Is that the reason for me not performing the way I want to perform? And it never was the answer. The reason was that I was eating too much and I didn't want to admit it. Or the reason was I wasn't getting enough sleep. Or the reason was I wasn't training hard enough in the gym. It doesn't mean if I all of a sudden sort all those things out, I'm going to walk out here again like a super duper Hollywood actor just about to step on the set of an action movie. I would guess the reason some people do, again to use the same term, get caught up in it is because they're not actually happy with their own physique and they're looking for answers elsewhere. This is when we kind of transform into like Simon Miller's life lessons, which I do apologize for, but that is never going to help you. It's the equivalent of kicking down, and you never want to kick down. You always want to punch up, right? It's just that positive feeling and that positive sensation that you can give yourself where all of a sudden you are back on track and you're trying to fix your problems rather than be annoyed about what somebody else has done. And people do this all the time on the internet. It's basically what social media is. If you're trying to get a big YouTube channel, or you're trying to get a promotion at work, you're trying to go on that lovely holiday, and you see somebody else that has done all these things, you go, well, how did they do it? It's the same conversation you have with yourself. How did they do it? What do I need to do? So on and so forth. Don't even worry about it. Focus on your situation. What do you want to do? You want to go on a nice holiday? Maybe you need to earn a bit more money. Maybe it comes down to that. So how do you get a better job in your company in order to finance that? Maybe you can get another job. I mean, that sounds crazy. Don't drive yourself nuts. But you know what I mean? Come up with realistic scenarios where all of a sudden you feel like you're going to achieve your goal. And when you do fit that goal, you're going to get a much better, life kick and an endorphin rush as opposed to, I went and tore that other person down, because it never works. You tear one person down, then you tear another person down. And I want to make it clear for the people that get to this video, I am not saying Derek and Greg Doucette are tearing anybody down. Far from it. They are coming at it from a scientific and they are coming at it from an intellectual point of view. I'm talking more about the people, again, on Twitter, essentially on Twitter, that see a great thing happening to somebody else and instantly go into destroy mode. And we shouldn't go into destroy mode. I'm not saying you can't call out BS. Do you know what I mean? This is the balance I'm trying to get. If you see BS, you got to call out BS. But don't let the green-eyed bug, don't let jealousy stop you doing from what you need to do. And that goes for the gym as well. So if your big goal for this year is to do a 120 kilogram bench press, and you saw that, just to use him, MattDoesFitness did that in his first one, who cares? It doesn't matter. It's completely irrelevant to your goals, because maybe you can't hit 120 kilograms. Maybe it's just out of your remit. Maybe you're just not going to be that strong. I mean, I think you could. You could even just become a big strong man or a strong woman, then you'd be able to do it. But let's say it is out of your remit. Well, that's okay. A goal isn't necessarily always there to hit. Sometimes a goal is just a good barometer for you to try and reach. And if you need to shake things around, that's cool. Maybe you get to the point where 100 kilograms is all you can do. Again, I think you get up to 120. I truly do. But maybe you do 100 kilograms and you make sure you go from 6 reps to 8 reps to 10 reps to 12 reps to 14 reps. And I tell you, if you're doing 14 reps at 120, you can probably do whatever the figure I just threw out there was. And I totally understand why people do it, but I do think we get caught up in the nonsense, as do I. Do I actually care if MattDoesFitness does drugs? No, I couldn't give a hoot. If he does good, if he doesn't good, I just hope he does well in his competition. His channel smashed it. He is an utter success. When everyone starts chitter-chattering about it, I'm like, oh, I wonder where this is going to go, especially when it's coming out of the mouths of people I respect, like Derek and like Greg. So, given that that's all I've kind of watched this week when it comes to YouTube, I thought, well, I've got a YouTube channel too. I'll throw my 2 cents in there. There's a comment section below. Please do the same, and we'll have a big chat about it. Maybe you think it is a very super serious issue, but the great thing about all this is that it has been addressed as such. Again, all the opinions are out there, which is why I'm not saying that those opinions are wrong. I just wanted to give you the more annoying opinion. The more annoying opinion. Oh, Simon, you're such a fairy. You're such like a peaches and cream guy. I know. I have to deal with it every day. Now, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the bell, ding, ding, so you know when other videos are going live. There will be another video on the screen. Give it a click because YouTube loves it. All the stuff you want to support me is in the description. So there's a Patreon, there's Instagram, there's Twitter, there's Greg Doucette's cookbook. Got a code in there as well. Probably some other stuff that I haven't talked about, but I feel like I've ranted at you enough. Make sure you have a great day. Make sure when you go to the gym, you're smashing it for you because you're the most important person in your life, and I'll see you soon.